Attack on Titan Season 4, Episode 3. A moment of silence for the cut female Titan scene. So what's up guys, Foxen here. Attack on Titan final season manga comparison time. From Season 4, so far this episode has the most pages removed. But, is that necessarily a bad thing? Let's find out. Go ahead and colossal smash that like and subscribe. Let's rage to 500,000, almost there. This episode titled A Door of Hope. Kicking this off with a flashback. You got Mama's little boy lying down instead of sitting on Mama's lap. She's even rubbing his hair. In the manga, she specified her devil ancestors doing bad things, which means current Eldians would do it too if they weren't caged up right now. You heard her mention that they couldn't be with father. A Marleyan and Eldian pairing is strictly forbidden within Marley. The anime skipped over her asking Reiner to keep it a secret. You do have Mama Reiner crying in both. The anime version has her covered up. For the whole scene, the anime did add the focus on that light, which is now used to connect over to Reiner in present day. You now have anime Reiner looking like a snack on the bed. Getting into flashback territory, Kid Reiner struggling in the rain. In the anime, you mostly only have Reiner. There is a brief shot of the other kids. With the manga version, you view tons more kids. You were even given a full page with Marcel included. This showed you Marcel passing up Reiner to claim his warrior candidate spot. Next whole page cut, Reiner and his best buddy. You got to see them training at shooting. Turns out this was how Bert secured his Titan position. Guess the anime just forgot about him, he's long gone. Then for Reiner versus Annie's technique. No wonder Reiner tried to stay away from this blonde during training. I really wish they left this in to show Reiner smelling himself. You know, just like Eren would years later. Next up, Reiner's last chance, some Marley SAT? You could spot Annie, Mr. Piggy, and even that meme kid Isayama snuck in. You could bet Reiner was kissing some ass to the extreme to aces. Totally worth it. I mean, you had a scene of Reiner showing off his warrior candidate prize to Mama, along with an extra shot of motherly love. So close to becoming an honorary Marleyan, which actually included a rare shot of Reiner smiling. Reiner really was going to lose everything. Getting to the warrior training area, you could actually spot the Eldian symbol on both walls. As for Zeke, yes, this is Mr. B's Titan. Now you have the guy in the anime with an apple. Imagine if it was a banana. The apple actually is a nice callback to their Ymir ancestor that supposedly accepted the forbidden Titan fruit, especially with Zeke being royal blood himself. Anyway, the whole toss and sharing of the apple between the Jaws Titan bros is new too. For the warrior kids, in the anime they now don't look all that tired. Marcel and Porco almost look like twins. Pieck is not amused. In the manga, you could tell they had just finished training. Notably, Annie was not too interested. Pieck looked like she was about to fall over in her close-up. For our Meteor Zeke anime cut, Zeke mentioned how the war with the South would be over soon. On top of this, the warrior unit would be reorganized as part of the new army structure. The first part here helps to hint that Marley was constantly at war. The timeline for this was before anything involving Paradise Island. Hell, they weren't even Titans yet. Getting into Porco grilling Reiner, the manga actually gave you a flashback of Porco checking him out during the exam. He could just smell the crapola coming from Reiner. For anime Porco, really getting so much out of that apple. You now have Reiner knocking that fruit from his grasp, and then holding hands. Ooh. But seriously, it was great to see the anime adding some extra symbolism. Some of the more obvious stuff being Reiner later claiming the armored titan instead of Porco. Right here, manga Reiner came off much more intense. He went on about how the devils were bringing fear into the entire world. It wouldn't be long until they started killing again, that they had to kill them. Both of the versions did have Reiner trying to accuse Porco. The manga included the line about support for the Eldian king. With Marcel coming in, you now have him covering both sides. For a little Zeke added detail, the anime gave you a new shot of him clearly passively watching Porco versus Reiner without interfering. As Zeke was taking off, in the anime he now calls out to Pieck to get going. Pieck-chan, let's go! For blonde girl Annie running away, leaving a creamy mess. This whole anime scene actually opens up with Mr. Grasshopper taking it easy. The change up here was Annie shown wiping the critter in the manga, along with the two guys spotting Annie in the act. Then for the Titan bros taking off, it was re-emphasized how the world fears those Eldians on the island. Switching over to the little devil, you got Kid Eren looking like a level 1 starting character. Which, by the way, lovely transition from Marley, both of them looking up into the sky, surrounded by walls. Getting into the Titan Suicide Squad. I'm glad I wasn't the only one that thought that. For all of these, Annie, Reiner, Marcel, Pieck, and Zeke were all new additions. We all needed the drawn female Titan in our life. This was actually a page and a half in the manga, compared to the beautiful animation you got this episode. Next up, the Titan with the golden crust. The new detail in the anime is how you could actually spot the Marley soldiers marching behind him. Reiner is just tanking everything. I completely missed the soldiers when watching. For the Jaws Titan Marcel version, you got one page expanded into some drawn animation. By far, this brother has the better hair. Give me more of this, Mappa. For Zeke, the anime actually skipped over the Wonder Boy line. You were able to see the poor manga horses blasted into barbecue. Now you have a frontal shot of this glorious furry with a dad bod. Then for the Card Titan, look at those teeth, delivering the nuke courtesy of Titan Prime. I like how you can now spot Little Boy inside. You can now enjoy the actual visuals of the nuke going off, the almighty god of destruction. Thank you Mappa for not using the PS2 version. Even with the close-up shot of the Colossal Beast. Sorry Armin, your sad Colossal Boy does not compare. For Mogath, a skip line. He mentioned how they were training these warriors since infancy and now it's paid off. Next up, a full page removed. It involved the Paradise Island mission. The Beast Titan and Card Titan would stay back on Marley to fight in their wars. The actual mission to retake the Founding Titan would include the 4 other Titans. Bonus shot of Sad Porco below. Funny how you could actually spot the map and the board from the skip scene in the following anime scene. Celebration time, confetti everywhere. This time you actually have Marcel waving at the crowd. Getting into Reiner's ugly bastard of a papa. Slight line change. In the manga, he actually accused his mother of forcing him to become a warrior as revenge on him. Next up, 2 pages cut, which is the aftermath with Reiner and Mommy. You had Reiner standing and watching as his father went out to get some milk again. Looks like Reiner was in total shock. You actually had Mother bringing him back to reality. She encouraged Reiner that he would complete this mission, that his father surely was praying for his success too. Good one. There was a bonus of the other people also referring to them as the chosen Eldian warriors. They were asking to be saved from the Eldian devils. Next page and a half cut, you were actually able to see the port scene in Grisha's flashback. More important, it was Mogath sending them off. Turns out that the Marley army comes on standby during a full moon. We should also notice the commander being gushy about wanting them all to return. Aw, he does care. At the very least, the anime did give you the full moon shot. Campfire time! You actually had Manga Bird triggering a flag. I'm glad we didn't run into any titans. Anyway, as for more crazy Reiner, you had the guy almost parroting his mother, that their devil ancestors once trampled the world over, which is why the world fears him. In all, a lot of retreading. Ymir time. I'm surprised that Mappa didn't reuse a season 2 scene. You now have a season 4 version of the new Jaws Titan chowing down. I've actually seen people crapping on Mappa saying this is lower quality. Completely unfair. Keep in mind that was back in Attack on Titan Season 2, back when Wit Studio had all the time in the world to prepare. Back when Wit Studio had a dedicated makeup team. Arguably, Wit Studio raised the bar to levels that even they couldn't get back to consistently in Season 3. Anyway, for actual Reiner dialogue removed, Reiner thought about how he was a chosen warrior, the one entrusted with the Armored Titan, that he was going to punish those island devils, and then become the hero who would save everyone. Next up, Reiner reaching home base. It really seemed like Reiner was much more scared in the anime. Poor boy lost his lunch. Probably pissed himself too. Also, not really a change, but the lone tree shot does stand out more in the manga. Slight parallel to Eren waking up under a tree in episode 1. And Reiner wailing? This will never not be funny. For blonde girl Annie, she looked more drenched than her manga counterpart. For a Bertold cut here, he was talking about the Titans. He reminded Reiner how unpredictable they could be. In the anime, he now doesn't have any lines here. Let's get into it. Annie tenderizing Reiner. Some people would pay good money for this. The anime beatdown looked much worse. Watching this reminded me of Levi giving Eren a special treatment too. Manga Annie insisted he was gonna die a moment ago anyway, so good riddance. For Reiner revived, this actually resembled Levi back when he was chasing the monkey. Take a look, up close and bloody. I think I prefer this to it looking much cleaner in the previous seasons. So finally right here, Bert got a word in. In the manga, he was a tad more worried about Annie's fate. And my god, do I love the detail of the Annie shot. That girl is dying. Next up, a major cut, about 8 pages gone, including the female Titan scene. So you had the 2 Titan boys riding the blonde. They even had a rope tied around her neck. This is the first time the female Titan got so much attention on Paradise Island. So many Titan fans chasing after her. This actually included a Game of Thrones reference at the very bottom. Honestly, I've almost completely forgotten about this tragedy. I only recall the small dude that drank a lot. I like how you could see that Reiner's face got super swollen. The plan for the warriors was to ride the female Titan and Jaws Titan over. Unfortunately, now the female Titan was playing solo duty, which meant Annie got to overuse and overexhaust herself using her Titan. At one point, Reiner took over with his armored Titan. Even this part happened off page in the manga. Reiner then helped his buddy get into position to bust the gate. They all needed to hurry before the hungry Titans reached their asses. It is a little funny to think about how all of this was going on before episode 1. In front of Wall Maria, even the biggest Titans seemed to hesitate. Could he be sensing the other Titan comrades in deep slumber? Better be sure to aim for the gate and do not miss. Meanwhile, Reiner was off to the side, a good distance away. He was taking care of the tired Sleeping Beauty. At the same time, you had Reiner going over their plan. Destroy the wall, use a chaos to sneak in, they would then track down the Eldian King, and finally, somehow, profit, get the Founding Titan. Anyway, while Reiner was in La La Land, he had his Titan fans greeting him with some hugs, which was actually oddly similar to the Season 2 Titans gathered thanks to Commander Erwin. Same deal here too, Reiner got free, then raised over to his Colossal Titan buddy. I actually like how you got a good view of the Colossal Titan remains evaporating. Look at that terrifying Colossal Titan human face. It looks like his skin got rubbed off, ow. Anyway, hello to Mrs. Jaeger. I'm glad to see that the anime included her face, which means how many versions does she have? You got Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and now Season 4. And don't get me started on the manga. Anyway, further shown was the Armor Titan using his claws to monkey his way up Wall Maria. Sorry Titan guys, not today. You were able to see Reiner drop off the two warriors on the top of the wall. Reiner still had to go down to get some smashing done. Right here, Mappa chose to use a Season 1 scene, and then blend it with the new Armor Titan shot at the very end. Likewise, you did get the Colossal Titan arrival scene. I actually saw a surprising amount of people bitching over Mappa reusing these scenes, but honestly, I really didn't mind. I take much more issue with Best Titan Girl cut out. I will point out that the new scene with the Armor Titan has the updated design versus the Season 1 scene, most visible on his back. Fast forward to Blondie waking up. You were able to see a far shot of those surrounding her. Then for the OG Attack on Titan trio, in the manga you were actually able to get a decent look at them, complete with the zoned out Eren. For the warrior trio, aww? Not sure whether Annie hates this or she's not totally awake yet. Next up, Gothic Reiner. He actually looked normal in the manga. In the manga version you could see Eren and Horseboy nearby. Next up, Mr. Hangman. The Titan here naturally is the one from the Season 1 flashback. I'm glad the Mappa Studio kept a similar style. The actual finale for this old dude got moved further in the anime. Some of you seem to think that the warriors offed him, maybe Reiner, but really there wasn't any more indication to hint at that. For the far shot, you could actually notice the fields in the background. This actually matches a similar shot to episode 2 when the trio was working the fields. Next few pages removed, now the warriors working the field. Turns out that the king is just a puppet. It was likely that neither the king or those in charge were subjects of Ymir, but instead a completely different race that sucked up to the king years back, and therefore held power, which is stuff that got revealed back in the Uprising arc. To this, Annie gave a suggestion. How about becoming a servant, or her trying to marry into their royal family? Funny how Bert was completely against this idea. But really didn't matter, Annie realized that the families in charge wouldn't risk tainting their blood. Besides, Annie didn't think she had the charm to seduce men. To which one bewitched guy answered back. All of this led into Reiner's idea, let's get into the military police. Unfortunately, it did take the warriors 2 years to even get here. Reiner also mentioned something about only Annie being allowed to enter and exit the royal capital. Interesting to notice how they were letting their guards down for little girls. At the very bottom, Annie brought up the concern about them only having 10 years left. So here's the juicy bit. In the 2 years following their attack, the king had not made a move. Here's where you got the reveal about the Tiber family info. Turns out Marley and the warriors were aware about the Eldian king being bound to his vow. You then had Reiner emphasizing how humanity's fate was in their hands, to which Reiner was really just imagining the worst possible case scenario. The Founding Titan counterattacking. Keeping with the Attack on Titan anime tradition, they cut those abs of steel. Sorry Reiner fans. Next up, Uncle Kenny. You had Annie tailing him. I actually saw a good amount of confusion for this whole scene. Was it just fan service? It really was just the anime cutting out Annie's thoughts. She noticed Kenny seeming different from the other top royal government officials. Her hunch was that Kenny would lead her to the king. Bravo Annie, she was right on the money. Go Annie, use super kick. Oh, it missed. The anime actually skipped over the end of this midnight encounter. Turns out Annie slipped her little behind down into the sewer. Kenny's big ass was like, hell no. Next page is cut. You saw Reiner, Eren, and the other trainees. It was back when Raging Eren was still around. Honestly, it feels like you didn't miss out on much. It really only showed Reiner separating Horseballs and Eren. Hold up a minute, is that Flock at the very bottom, on the left? The most meaningful part here was actually about Annie. You could see Annie being all quiet and just out of it. Annie scouting at night probably put her in a bad mood during the daytime. Next up, right before the Walrose attack. Another time the anime skipped over the king's peace vow. Turns out that Manga Reiner actually thought this whole plan out. They were gonna attack the day that the Survey Corps would be gone. If the king didn't show up, all of them could take advantage of the confusion to sneak into the royal capital. This would be an option if they didn't get into the top 10 graduating scouts. Next up, Eren and Reiner's chat. Why does Reiner look so thin here? In the anime, most of Reiner's thoughts were removed. Reiner was going over their plan of attack. They would strike after the ceremony. You saw a flashback of Marco being eaten. Reiner confirmed it was him and Annie that took care of Hanji's pet titans. You even had a glimpse of the flashback of Reiner on the wall top, right before the top 10 anime betrayals. You could see the warrior buddies right before launching Zeke's plan in season 3. For anime Eren here in the past, come on, Mappa got it perfect. Better looking than in season 1. What a motivating big bro figure with Reiner. Now Eren, stand up. Keep on moving forward. Next up, Reiner sucking on something pretty long, which by the way notice not covered by a beam of light, unlike the trailer shot. Complete with a drool shot. You could even hear the watery sound of all of that drool. Get it together, Reiner. Next up, Mr. Kruger plus Falco. The anime actually gave you a glimpse of his green gem for a nice attention to detail. Do I spot one lone tree to the left? I wonder who's playing the devil now. For the one injured Eldian in the wheelchair. It's weird how the anime didn't show the guy missing his legs. Newly added to the anime was this bugged NPC fella next to the wall. Overall for the scene, perfect execution by Mappa. They really kept the scene 99% intact. Considering this is one of the most important scenes for the season 4 intro, I'm pretty happy about it. So, how good or bad was this episode after these changes? Post below, especially after seeing this. A couple pages cut here and there, but despite that, I think I'm personally fine with how the episode turned out, mostly. A much bigger issue is what I mentioned in my review. They really needed to give more time for these scenes to breathe. If you actually compare this to Attack on Titan Season 1, Season 2, even some of Season 3, it feels like Season 4 is racing through everything when it shouldn't need to. Clearly Mappa wanted to end this episode on the reveal at the end. An easy fix would have been to just keep what was already in this episode and slow it down like 10%. The Falco and Hoppo scene should have then replaced the ending. Kill the opening too if you need more time. ReZero and SAO have done it. Attack on Titan could do it too. Unfortunately for some of the meteor stuff removed, the female Titan chase scene. I see more and more anime-only people that thought Reiner knocked out Annie with that bear hug, almost as if Annie was taken along for the ride in the anime against her will. I could totally understand perhaps not having the time or resources to include this, but once again this feels like a super easy fix. The anime could have shown a few female Titan stills to go over the point quickly, 5 or 10 seconds, done. For the Tiber info, while important, they could easily move this to the next episode, which is likely. More important, at a high level you don't see the warriors piecing this stuff together in detail anymore. Which leads to the next point, the scene for Annie and Bert's characters removed. Clearly they wanted this episode to be more Reiner focused. I guess screw those characters that are no longer around. This episode may be a good indication about how future flashbacks are handled. Season 4 is going to be filled with tons of them. I was already expecting anime-only people to be confused later on when there was so much jumping around with time skip events. Hell, some manga readers are still confused to this day. You could only imagine how worse things will get in a few episodes. I shouldn't be surprised, but after the last 2 manga comparison videos, you had people calling me a dumbass, saying scenes like Peak on the floor will get rearranged. You're stupid, they're gonna be back next episode. Keep in mind, I did mention this possibility in both of those videos. But let's be real. Sure, some stuff can come back. Some information could be moved around, which it does seem like they're doing. But let's not be naive enough to think they're gonna bring all of these scenes back somehow. That female Titan scene this episode, don't expect that back. The Attack on Titan train has left the station and is moving at full speed. Each episode is going to continue covering around 2 chapters, which means more stuff is going to be skipped or completely removed. Let me stress how I'm mostly fine with the cuts this episode, although I wonder if I'm used to it at this point covering so much light novel anime. Really reminds me of ReZero or SAO earlier this year. Each new episode was like, oh, the new scene I was hyped for did not get removed? Freaking awesome! And to the people crying wanting Wit Studio back, you really should fully think out the Wit Studio timeline. Had the Wit Studio remained, they would have very likely gotten a similar 16 episode limit for the current stuff too. People seem to conveniently forget how much was cut from Attack on Titan Season 3. My videos on Season 3 are still up, by the way. Let's not pretend Season 3 looked perfect either. It did not. It looked wonky in so many places, especially towards the end. The actual biggest difference may not be the Wit Studio change, but the animator Arifumi Imai not involved anymore. Anyway, post below what was the worst cut, or if you were fine with this episode. Or just say hi. Be sure to subscribe, over 50% of you aren't subbed yet. Go watch my new video on the amazing anime coming out in 2021. Next year is packed. There's a fun video coming out this weekend, and I'll see you guys later.